The rise and fall of ISIS, when empires burn. History rarely ends with the sound of a gun. It ends in whispers, quiet decisions made far from the battlefield, in secret deals, betrayals, and the slow erosion of an idea. For years, the world watched ISIS rise from the ashes of war, a movement that promised a new caliphate, an empire stretching from Syria to Iraq, built not by diplomats, but by fire and fear. But just as quickly as it appeared, it collapsed. The black flags that once waved over cities like Mosul and Raqqa were torn down, trampled, and burned. The self-proclaimed Islamic State, which once ruled millions, vanished into the dust. The question history struggles to answer is simple. Why did it really fall? From chaos to control. When ISIS declared its caliphate in 2014, it was more than a terrorist group. It was a state. It had a government, oil revenue, propaganda ministries, even tax collectors. By 2015, its annual income reached nearly $2 billion, rivaling small nations. It controlled territory the size of the United Kingdom. To many in the West, ISIS seemed unstoppable, a hydra that grew stronger with every airstrike. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. According to former CIA analyst Charles Lister, ISIS was a product of chaos, and chaos never lasts. Their power depended not only on ideology, but on control of fear, of people, of territory. And when that control slipped, the illusion of divine victory began to shatter. The cracks within. The beginning of the end came from within. In Mosul, commanders argued over authority. Tribal leaders, once allied with ISIS, resisted harsh taxes and executions. Locals realized that the new rulers were just as brutal as the old regime. One Iraqi shopkeeper later said, "Under the old regime, we feared soldiers. Under ISIS, we feared our neighbors." First crack, the loss of legitimacy. Second crack, greed. Leaders enriched themselves through smuggling while low-level fighters starved. The promise of a holy caliphate became a gangster empire. Third crack, paranoia. Within Raqqa, ISIS executed its own men for spying, for doubt, for thinking too much. By 2016, the group was already at war with itself. The rise of the Kurds. While ISIS fought internally, a silent enemy rose in the north, the YPG forces. Underestimated and overlooked, these men and women became the backbone of the global fight against ISIS. With U.S. air support and intelligence, they reclaimed territory inch by inch. Kobani, Raqqa. Each victory shattered the myth that ISIS was invincible, ordained by destiny. For a movement built on apocalyptic prophecy, defeat was theological as well as military. The war in shadows. Even as bombs fell, another war was being fought in the digital shadows. Cyber campaigns targeted ISIS propaganda, Twitter accounts deleted, encrypted communications infiltrated, media centers destroyed. Disinformation became the deadliest weapon. False reports of betrayal, death, and internal mutiny spread. Fighters turned on each other. Trust vanished. ISIS was no longer fighting the West. It was fighting itself. The end of funding. Perhaps the greatest blow came from former allies. Documents reveal that early in the Syrian civil war, regional powers and private donors funded extremist groups to weaken Assad. What began as strategy became Frankenstein. By 2016, these same powers, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, factions within Iraq, turned against ISIS. Money stopped flowing, smuggling routes were cut, allies became hunters. The fall of Raqqa. In 2017, U.S.-backed forces launched the assault on Raqqa. For months, the city became a graveyard of rubble and smoke. By October, the black flag was gone. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the self-proclaimed caliph, fled into hiding. In 2019, cornered by U.S. Special Forces, he detonated a suicide vest, ending his life and, symbolically, his empire's dream. But by then, ISIS was already dead. Its downfall was not in that explosion, it was in the hearts of those who no longer believed. A mirror to the world. Yet behind the rubble lies a deeper truth. ISIS was not only a military failure, it was a human one. It thrived where broken states, foreign invasions, and decades of resentment left a vacuum. When we speak of its downfall, we must also whisper about the world that created it. Divided borders, dictatorships supported for convenience, wars fought for oil and influence. What remains? Raqqa became a ghost city. The Euphrates ran dark with oil and blood. Thousands of children grew up in refugee camps, still chanting the songs of a dead caliph. Fragments of ISIS survive today in Syria, Iraq, and Africa. Small, scattered, leaderless, but alive in ideology. Experts warn, without addressing injustice, corruption, and despair, ISIS could return under another name. History never disappears. It waits. And as the dust settles, the world must ask, what will rise from the ashes we create?